But this one is probably my absolute favorite Eucharistic miracle. This happened in Buenos Aires, Argentina. There was actually a series of them from 92, 94, and 1996. 1996 one is a pretty big deal. The priest, the pastor in the church is Father Alejandro Pizet. And in Buenos Aires, Argentina, the Archbishop was Bergoglio, who is now Pope Francis, which is a fun connection to today's church. What ended up happening is I should back up on that one. What ended up happening is there was a host found in the back of church after Mass. And somebody let Father Pizet know, so he goes back, finds the host. It was on a table or a candelabra or something like that. So Father takes the host and brings it back up, and it's standard procedure to put the host in a cup of water and then put it in the tabernacle and let it dissolve away. And once it's dissolved, then you pour that water into a sacrarium. Is that pronounced correct? Sacrarium is a sink that goes directly into the ground, more like a burial rather than a sink that would go into the local sewer system, okay? So that's typical procedure. What ended up happening is that they discovered a few days later that the host, which should have been rapidly dissolving in the water, had turned to flesh and began to bleed. So Father Pizet lets the Archbishop Bergoglio, know about the situation. They decide to sit on it for just a little bit and see what happens. They don't want to jump to conclusions or anything like that. They wait on this for a while. Eventually they bring in Professor Dr. Castanon Gomez to do a more serious and thorough scientific, even medical investigation of what's going on with this potentially bleeding piece of flesh that the Eucharist had transformed into. So he first takes this Eucharist, this fleshy substance, this apparently flesh and blood substance, up to San Francisco. He comes to the United States, brings it to a forensic lab, right? I mean, these are going to be specialists and working with people who've been harmed in various crimes or accidents. Brings it to a forensic lab. Here's what the conclusion was from that lab in 2000. Number one, they know that it's human. This is actually human tissue. This is human blood, okay? Human DNA in the samples. And that the human tissue also has white blood cells present. Now here's what's special about the white blood cells. Now I'm not a physician by any means, okay? So I have to take the literature's word for it on this one. But white blood cells break down within 15 minutes of the body dying, okay? This means that it was still a living sample. You had white blood cells still present in the tissue, or just recently deceased, within minutes deceased. They continued studies on this. In 2001, they determined, separate study, that it is heart tissue, myocardial tissue, with white blood cells. Again, confirmed another year later. This is 5 years after the Eucharistic miracle occurred in 1996. In 2002, they sent samples away to Sydney, and they determined it was muscle tissue. Again, still with white blood cells present, which again, disintegrate within 15 minutes. 2003, continued testing. They determined it's heart tissue, and that this heart tissue was inflamed, suggesting that the victim, whoever this is coming from, underwent incredible traumatic stress prior to death in this tissue, the heart tissue, okay? This is my favorite. 2004, they bring it to New York City and have it analyzed by Dr. Professor Zugube, who's internationally renowned. He had also done a lot of work on the Shroud of Turin, if you're familiar with that. Could be the burial cloth of Christ. He is at Columbia University, and he confirmed the following. Number one, it's human heart tissue from the left ventricle. Now here's what's fun about the left ventricle. We have how many chambers in our heart? 4, okay? The left ventricle is the chamber of the heart that when it constricts, it pumps blood to give life to the rest of the body, okay? So it's heart tissue from the left ventricle. They had evidence of thrombi, which is labored and painful breathing in the part of the victim that they could tell from this heart tissue. And again, in 2004, this is 8 years after the Eucharistic miracle first occurred, they still have the presence of intact white blood cells in the sample, suggesting, and this is how Dr. Zugube puts it, when you brought the sample to me, it was still alive. Okay? Powerful. powerful stuff. Now, for a skeptic like me, encountering something like this, I need evidence. I am a doubting Thomas figure, okay? I need evidence, I need information, I need stuff to help bolster my faith. Blind faith is very, very difficult for me. It was this kind of evidence from Eucharistic miracles all over the world that really helped me come to stronger and better faith in the Eucharist, and that Jesus would give us this gift. By the way, I'll share this with you. I get this all from therealpresence.org. There is a Vatican exhibition of Eucharistic miracles that occurred centuries ago, all the way up to, I think the most recent one we'll look at later is 2013, maybe 2016 is the most recent one. All of these Eucharistic miracles are Vatican tested, Vatican approved.